Hello everybody, so today we'll be doing lesson 9 on the second grade worksheet. We'll start off with the first problem, which is skip counting. Now when we take a look at the first problem, we see that it doesn't go by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but rather 5, 10, 15. So a method I'd like to use is taking two numbers that are side by side, so let's say 5 and 10, and subtracting them. So from 10 minus 5 would equal 5. Now this can be done with any two numbers that are side by side, not 15 and 5, but rather also 15 minus 10, which is also equal to 5. Now we see that both are equal to 5, and this means that in order to get from 5 to 10 to 10 to 15, all of them had to be added by 5. So 5 to 10 is plus 5, and 10 to 15 is also plus 5. Now, in order to find the next three numbers, what we would need to do is also add 5 again and again. So, for 15, let's try adding 5 to that. That would equal 20. So, for the next number, you would get 20. Because from 15 added by 5, you would get the number 20. And from 20, again, you would add 5. So, you would get 25. And from 25, you would add another 5, which will get you 30. So this is basically skip counting. But then you would ask, what happens if the numbers are decreasing? Well, we'll take a look at number 5, which it says 10, 8, and 6. Again, you would use the same method, which 10 minus 8 equals 2. And 8 minus 6 equals 2 again. Again, these are the same numbers. So, but however, rather than adding by 2's, because it's decreasing from 10 to 8 to 6, you would instead subtract by 2. So, from 6, just like number 1, subtract 6 minus 2 would equal 4. 4 minus 2 would equal 2, and 2 minus 2 would equal 0. Alright, we'll be moving on to telling time. Now, for telling time, you have to know the difference between the hour and the minute. So this is what we would call the hour hand, and this is what the minute hand is like. Now, for each of these numbers, as you see, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those aren't just the only numbers. You also have these are the hours, not the minutes. So as you can see, these little increments, those are the minutes. So when you would see 1, actually for minutes, it would be 5. For 2, that would be 10. For 3, 15, 4, 20. And you realize this is, wait a minute, this is skip counting. And you'd be exactly right. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. Now, in order to read this, as I already said before, the hour, you have to look at the hour hand first. Now, for the hour hand, you see that's not really pointing at anything. It's pointing between the numbers 11 and 12. Now, how to find out what hour it's at? You will need to go back to the number that it passed, not the number that's going towards. So, for example, 11 and 12. Well, it hasn't passed 12 yet, and it has passed 11. So, this would technically make this still 11. Because it hasn't passed the 12 yet, and because it's already past the 11, and it's already through. Now, this, for the minute hand, you would be able to, because it's pointing directly at 3, and we know that 3 is not the minute, and rather 15, as we see from here, we can just write 15. So for our answer, we would get 11:15. Because the hour hand has not passed the 12 yet, so we know it's 11, and because the minute hand, this thing, is pointing directly at 3, which we know is 15 because of our skip counting. Now, what happens now you guys later on learn that the minute hand also can go like that, and between the numbers, but that will be for another time. Now, for estimating time. So for this one, this is more of so when you're saying estimating time, you'll take a look at each activity and think about how long would it really take you to solve this realistically. So let's take playing a board game. When it asks less than 1 minute or more than 1 minute, well, in a board game, you have to learn the rules, you have to play the game, you know. Would that really take less than 1 minute? Again, this is not an hour, but a minute. A minute is equal to 60 seconds. And we know that compared to an hour, a minute goes by much faster. So for playing a board game, well, that would be more than a minute. So when taking a look at all the rest of these problems, think to yourself, how long would it take you, yourself, to do? And when you mean less than a minute, you mean could you do it in, let's say, could you do it in 10 seconds, 20 seconds? And when asking more than a minute, ask yourself, well, will this take me more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so on. So for our final worksheet, we'll do word problems. Again, I've always said this before, but for word problems, it's always handy to write out what it's telling you and then solving off of there. So, let's try number 2. In Class A, there are 27 students. In Class B, there are 35 students. How many more students does Class B have? Now, before we do anything or solve anything, it's good to write out the numbers. So let's say Class A. Well, Class A has 27 students. In Class B, they tell us that Class B has 35 students. The question asks, how many more students does Class B have? Well, if we take Class B and Class A, we see that Class B has more students than Class A. How would we find the difference? We will find the difference by subtracting the two numbers in order to find out how many more students Class B has than Class A. So let's try this out. So 35 minus 27. You would take out, sorry, my bad. You would take out a 1, making it 2, and put the 1 right there. That would make it 15 minus 7. Now, 15 minus 7, let's think. 15 minus 7 would equal to 8. And you would subtract the 2, you would get a 0. So, 35 minus 27 equals 8. And you would put down that Class B has 8 more students. Now, when you do the rest of the problem, make sure to always write out the numbers before you solve the problem, as to not get confused when the question asks you, well, how many green buttons does Eric have, or how much money does Tommy have left? Alright, so thank you guys so much for listening, and good luck.